Hello everyone, I'm Debbie Allen, Principal Clarinetist of the Kansas City Civic Orchestra. We thought you might like to get to know some of our musicians up close and personal. You can always check out our website, kccivic.org, and see our Musician Spotlight articles. Today I'm going to share some exciting information about an upcoming outdoor concert played by the whole orchestra. This is my 30th year with the Kansas City Civic Orchestra. I actually auditioned 3 times before I got in. As they say, the third time's a charm. I have proudly occupied the principal clarinet position ever since. I got interested in composing early on in my teaching career. I'd walk down the halls of the elementary school and see artwork posted on the bulletin boards, and I thought, why isn't there creative output from the music room? So I started exploring all the ways that kids could create, recreate, and write down music. Along the way, I wrote little pieces for my students, and by my last year of teaching, I had figured out how to help students write a full-blown musical with 6 original songs. When I took retirement from full-time teaching, I knew I wanted to stop teaching other people how to be creative and spend more time being creative myself. I always loved learning and teaching the backstory of musical compositions. What was the composer's intent? What does the music represent, if anything? Learning the story behind music was always a hook to engage students in listening. So I have focused on writing music that tells a story or represents a person, place, or thing. I want the music to be fun and inspiring. I want to help the students find their voice as a musician when they play my music. I now have 15 compositions published for school band and orchestra on the J.W. Pepper My Score website. Well, usually inspiration pops up unannounced. I might be doodling around as a warm-up on one of my instruments and develop a melody. I might see a picture that makes me think of a series of sounds that become a melody. I sometimes come up with ideas when I'm out walking. I live close to the Indian Creek Trail, so I walk a lot and listen to sounds around me. In fact, I wrote a string quartet that members of the Civic Orchestra played last summer as a result of many outdoor walks during the pandemic. This piece has 3 movements under the title As the River Flows. The work is now published as a string orchestra piece. I've been taking a lot of road trips to Colorado to visit family, and sometimes I come up with ideas while I'm driving. I will pick up my phone and sing those ideas into a recording app. For commissions, I think about what might be significant for the musicians in the group. I keep a list of topics that might stimulate some cool music in the event that I am called upon to produce something new. Well, during my teaching career, I spent a lot of time poring over scores, trying to find appropriate music for various ensembles that I conducted. Music teachers want to find music that fits the ability of their players, will be a little bit challenging, fun to play, and sound good for an audience. When I write music, I consider the ability level of average school band and orchestra members. I try to give everyone something interesting to play at some point in the composition. No one should be stuck playing oompa the whole time. I had the privilege of teaching students in vocal and instrumental music at all different levels. As the performing arts coordinator for the Shawnee Mission School District for 11 years, which is a good portion of my 40-year career, I heard lots of concerts from all levels of ensembles. So I certainly have a lot of music rolling around in my head. Having worked with students of all instruments at all levels, I have an idea of what each player is capable of playing on each instrument. I really try to make good decisions about rhythms and use an appropriate range for each instrument as I put the music together. Fortunately, I have friends who will allow me to use their band or orchestra as a test kitchen. When I have a work pretty much finished, I call them up to see if I can bring it in and have it played and get some feedback from the students. Most every piece that I've written has been tested and edited before I send it to the publisher. Oh gosh, there are so many delicious ways to combine sounds. One of my favorite techniques is the use of chordal suspensions that create tension and then release. For example, one group is holding a chord, another group changes the chord, the first group catches up, so thus we have tension and release. I also like creating texture with polyphony or layers of sound. Oftentimes my themes and counter themes fit together and they can be played simultaneously. I explore using different keys and tonalities to illustrate the mood or emotion that I'm trying to instill, and I try to create interest for the player and the listener by placing moving parts, which would be short note values, with sustaining parts, which would be long note values. I have a process that seems to work pretty well. After I come up with the subject or the topic, I write down the themes and the counter themes. Then I start organizing. I figure out how to connect the themes and the counter themes with various transitions and key changes. If you saw my rough draft, you'd see arrows and numbers pointing all over the place, but eventually it goes together. It's kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. Then I orchestrate the piece. This is the fun part for me. I love imagining all the different colors that I can create with different combinations of instruments in the ensemble.
Okay, last one. You're a natural. Okay, here we go. 5, 4. What can we expect when we hear your composition played by the orchestra in May?
My new piece, Celebration, Settling the West, is a piece that was commissioned by the Broomfield Youth Symphony in Broomfield, Colorado. David Chase, our friend, is the conductor. When David asked me to write a new piece and explained the Youth Symphony had just added wind players, I thought the title Celebration was appropriate. I read the history of the area and came up with the idea of using an historical theme centered around the gold rush of the 1850s. So the piece opens with a rousing fanfare representing the excitement people must have felt about heading west to find their fortune. The fanfare is followed by a kick-up-your-heels fiddling tune. Sections of the orchestra come in and out, similar to couples moving in and out during a square dance. The next section is a waltz, representing the fact that women were invited to join the men who had risked life and limb to open up the West. The waltz signifies refinement of lifestyle after the initial rough and tumble of gold mining and exploration. The waltz is followed by a short transition representing the construction of railroads, which were built to connect the East with the West and bring more people into the area. After the transition, a new theme, which is kind of folksy, kind of jazzy, moves us into an overarching final theme of optimism and development as the town of Broomfield becomes the technology hub that it is today. The Broomfield Youth Symphony began learning the piece in 2020, but their concert was canceled since they had to shut down due to the pandemic. I've since written a simplified educational version of this piece that the reunited Broomfield Youth Symphony is hoping to perform when they meet after the pandemic. I am so thrilled the Civic Orchestra will premiere the original work this spring 2021. I hope it will be a celebration for us to reunite and play together again in a fun outdoor performance. I hope to see you all there.